Hello, this is your host, Tiffany Renee, with the show Talks with Tiff. We are here again today with this podcast. I'm getting used to it. We are getting the flow of things. And you, as you always know, thank you for being here. And what is our first question today? How do you feel? Just take a moment, take a pause. If you're driving, whatever you're doing, just take a pause. If you have to pause this, actually take a minute and ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I feel? It's very important that we ask ourselves that because we get so busy in doing things from day to day that we don't stop and pause and actually say, like, how do I really feel? So it's important. Today, y'all, we are going to be talking about, do you trust him? That's what we're talking about today. Do you trust God? Do you trust him? And so we say that we trust him, but a lot of times our actions speak otherwise. And so I'm going to share with you a lesson that I shared in our 31-day life reset challenge. I already told you guys if you want to get the information on that. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do a second cohort and we'll start that challenge all over again with brand new people. But you can find the information on Facebook or on my website, www.tiffanyreneemore.com. But today I want to talk about, do you trust him? And so the challenge is about our lives reflecting our future selves. We're digging into our habits, we're digging into our mindsets, we're digging into all of the things. And so on that first week, he took me back to the children of Israel, and we all know the story. The children of Israel were a very stubborn people, very stubborn. And, they end up in this wilderness for a long time, not 40 days, 40 years is a long time. It's a long time. And so when he started the challenge, I thought he was going to take me straight to where the manna began. And he took me to Joshua 5 and 12. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land. And the children of Israel no longer had manna, but they ate the food of the land of Canaan that year. And so I chose the topic, do you trust him? Because oftentimes we would say that we trust God, but our actions speak against that. Our actions say the exact opposite. We'd be like, no, God, I trust you. You tell me go here, I'm going to go. You tell me do this. And then you're looking crazy. The first thing that I want to draw out about manna is that the children of Israel would have never needed manna if they were obedient in the first place. Yeah. And I get it. I get that this is a miracle. And as believers, we talk about manna in that sense. This is a miracle that this is food straight from God. Manna was like a honey-like bread, so it had a good sweet taste to it. But they would have never needed that if they had done what they were supposed to do in the first place. So this first thought process that I had when I was thinking about manna was like, we are so excited about a miracle that we would have never needed had we learned to obey. Baby, listen, what in your life are you excited about? But God is saying, I'm doing this because I'm God, not because you were obedient. There are some things that God releases to us through grace. It's grace because you really know better and you really can do better. But I understand you still have a need. And so I'm going to be God and I'm still going to provide for you because he's a man of his word. But us, some stuff we wouldn't have never needed if we had been obedient in the first place. Manna was a miracle, but it was not a necessity if they had been obedient to the first instructions. And so we as believers, we listen, you start talking about manna, baby, the people get excited because they're like, yes, this is a miracle. But we don't ever want to talk about the fact that, guys, there was a whole promise waiting and all we had to do was obey. So as I was moving in the story and I was sharing it with the ladies in the 31 day challenge, I was telling them we have to learn not to be sustained in places or not to be caught up in places that are not our final destination. And we will become, and I know it's a miracle. So catch what I'm saying. We will we will become okay with mediocre things when there is a promised land waiting on us. Just because you're comfortable doesn't mean that's promise. Just because you are being sustained doesn't mean that's promise. Just because you are being blessed does not mean that it's promise. And we have to remember that there is a very big distinction in between the blessings and the promise. Promise is that big thing. Okay, promise is that big job. Promise is, you know, your whole family coming. The promise is that big thing that we know God has for us. Those blessings that He gives us in between are not meant for us to stay stuck. I believe the blessings are meant to encourage us to continue on to promise. And I believe manna is sent to signal to the Israelites that God is a caring and loving God even in this. Even in our disobedience and stubbornness, He still cares. So maybe I should just go ahead and get on the right path, but that is not what happened. Manna also represented a scarcity mindset. It represented that. Not the manna itself, but the way that they handled it. So as the manna was coming down, because they had not eaten, they began to hoard it. They began saying, listen, we're going to take a whole bunch because we just don't know about tomorrow. And so what God allowed it to do was rot, because what He was trying to get them to the place is trust me. Do not put your trust in things. There is a scripture that says, do not hoard this treasure on earth. Wherever you're hoarding that treasure, whatever your is that important to you, that's where your heart is. That's your biggest moment. And so what God is trying to get us to do is not to trust the things, but to trust Him. And we are all guilty of it. We are, especially in this climate that we're in right now, where people are losing jobs, and you begin to your mind just begins to go on just a spree of things. Like, it just begins to spiral, because it's like, okay, well, people losing jobs, and then if I lose my job, will I be able to pay my bills? And if I can't pay my bills, can we eat? And if I can't eat, can I? And so what God is saying is, I need you to trust that at the end of the day, I'm the source of it all. And that's what He was trying to get them to understand when He was letting that manna rot. I need you to understand that you have access to the God of manna. Can I encourage you today that whatever you're facing, you have access to the God of insert whatever it is that you need right there. If it's money, you have access to the God of abundance. If you're sick, you have access to the God of healing. We have to remember that our relationship with God trumps any circumstance that we could ever face. So what He was trying to get them to understand is, yes, you've been disobedient. Yes, you're a stubborn people. But even in this, I'm sustaining you. And I'm trying to show you that no matter what is happening externally, you have a relationship with me and access. Access is one of the greatest things, because the enemy can't do nothing with that. It doesn't matter what he throws your way. It does not matter what trials and tribulations that you have to enter into. Your access gives you the ability to overcome. Okay, I'll be trying not to be too excited. So that scarcity mindset is what messes us up. And we start to hoard the things. And God is saying, I need you to grab a hold of me. I need you to hold on to me so tight that you forget about the situation at all. He was saying, I got you. You think manna is something? I'm the God of everything. Like, you're kidding, right? Like, you think this is something. He began to show me in this scripture that it says, the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land. And this is where I'm talking about, do you trust him? When you get to that next place that God has for you, there are some things that are just, they need to cease. There are some friendships, there are some, it could be a job, it could be anything. I don't know. You got to think about this. But the day after they had tasted of the promise, the day after their footstep into promise, manna was no longer needed. So the very thing that they were hoarding, the very thing that they felt like we may not survive without this. Oh my goodness. The very thing that they felt like, if I don't have this, I won't be sustained. God is saying, if you trust me, because that's the whole point, I'm trying to get you from where you are to where you need to be. Manna was never going to taste like what was in the promise. Manna was never going to fulfill them like the food in the promise. And guess what? It was never intended to. And the more that we trust God and the more that we dig into who He is, we will begin to see that manna was good, but manna can't touch what's in the promise. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing because we're saying like we need to give thanks for everything. We really do. But do you really think God wanted them wandering around a wilderness? Do you really think God wanted them to wander when promise was available? Can I tell you something? Your behaviors are showing God that you don't trust Him. You were so stuck on manna and what was. You were so stuck on how manna was able to fulfill you at that time. And He's saying the moment that you step foot in promise and you taste it over there, you're not even going to need that. It's going to cease to even be available. You're not even going to be able to get your hands on what was. The moment you trust Him and you start obeying and doing what you need to do and you step in the promise, you're not even going to be thinking about manna. Because think about it, manna was just bread. It was a bread-like substance. They began to eat on some good fruits and vegetables. They probably was making salads and fruit bowls. So what is my point here? In us trusting God, we also have to trust Him in the levels. We have to trust Him that, yes, manna was okay at that time, but promise is better. Promise is better. Promise is the very thing that God came to this earth to make sure that you could have. And I see people, I have conversations in my salon with people who just get stuck. They get stuck in their wilderness. Oh, I've lived here for 40 years, or I've lived here all my life and it's been the same thing, or I've had the same friends and could that be your issue? Could it be that you're not trusting that God has something better for you? Could it be that you have been okay with mediocre so long that you're afraid of what promise even feels like? Because whether we realize it or not, we can become so comfortable with just enough that we forget that He's got more than enough. We were we were never supposed to live like that. We were never supposed to live with a just enough God. It's impossible. Too many scriptures to back it up. His track record doesn't even speak to Him being a just enough God. So my question for you today, I always leave you with something. In what areas have you been making God just enough? In what areas of your life have you been making God just enough? God is saying, I'm not the mediocre one. You're thinking this. I'm not the mediocre one. Your behaviors are. I got something waiting for you that's so good. I have things waiting for you that will blow your mind. Yet you're okay with manna because you're afraid to put the work in to get to your next. They had to put in work to get to the promise. It took a little bit of a journey, but it wasn't supposed to take as long as it was taking, which means there is a place in God for you. Once you trust Him, it's not going to take you long to get there. You just got to trust Him. And your actions show Him that you trust Him. You don't need manna anymore. You have access to a promised land. So that's our, I guess you could say, lesson for today. That is our thoughts for today. Manna is good enough. Manna is good enough. But there is promise waiting for you. And I want you to be encouraged to check those areas in your life where you know it's beneath you. You know it's not enough. You can feel it. You don't feel fulfilled. And as grown adult people, there's no way manna was even going to fulfill them nutritionally either. That's why it was a miracle. Because what do you mean what do you mean you ate starches for all those years? You didn't have nothing else. It's never meant to sustain you that long. So be willing to walk away, give up, turn from, let go of what was. It's time. It's time. There's something great. And I'm always ended like that because I have to encourage you for letting go. There's promise waiting for you, but you have to trust Him. I thank you guys for tuning in today. And like I said before, I'm going to try to do these bi-weekly. And then some of the podcasts will probably just be audio only, but I like to throw some videos in there as well. So I want you guys to have a great one, and I will see you next time.